Okay, so for the payment, so I hope I was I talking on mute until now? I mean, I wonder. Did you hear me talking about the payment
No,
configurations?
no.
Okay. Sorry, I was talking on mute. Okay, so yesterday I mentioned that today we will take up a prepayment invoice as a process, but then in order to complete the entire prepayment cycle, the payment activity has also to be done. Okay, now in order to do the payment activity, there are certain setups required. So that is what first we will have a look at all the remaining setups related to the payments and the payable, and then we will come back to the payment process, and then finally the prepayment process. Okay.
So
So
also we understand from Kumar, you are going to create a user for us, correct?
yeah, yes, that also I was actually speaking on mute. So I will be assigning that employee record to your
Please,
ID.
because I can't proceed anything the
Yeah,
payable
yeah.
policy without that.
Immediately after our session, I will do that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So from the payment, configuration process, we have already seen few of the items that are actually applicable for both invoicing and payment. That is payment method. We have, seen. Similarly, we have seen the payment options and the disbursement system options. These are some things again that is crucial for payment set. That those are the part of the payment setups as well. Okay, but then there are certain other setups that or the remaining setups, as you can say, that are required, okay, for the payment setups. Now what are those? Let me go to the curriculum and show you them, or show those to you. Okay, so this one. Okay, payment methods we have seen, right? And then payment formats. Okay, additionally what we need to define, the payment formats we need to define. Okay, and then after the payment formats are defined, then we will do the bank setup. Okay, setup of the bank accounts. Okay, bank creation of the bank branches, and bank accounts, and then the resulting payment document. Okay, so let me do one thing, just move this setup task. Okay, so that is our next item. So create payment method. I hope you had already seen that, right? Payment method configuration. If not, let me quickly show you again. Going to setup and maintenance. Going into financials. And then we will define what? Manage payment methods. So these are the same payment method that you saw at the supplier, payment attributes level. Okay. So you had seen certain payment method we had defaulted. So this is the setup where basically all those payment methods are coming from. Okay. So if at all your business, okay, the client for which you are, doing the implementation, they have certain specific methods. In that case, you will have to define them first here. And then once the supplier data has been loaded, you will have to manually assign, okay, or, assign all the particular records. Okay, there are two ways. Either you can manually assign it or automatically system will assign it. Now, what are the conditions for that? We will understand. Okay, so let me, first of all, search for one of the method, that is check. Okay, which this is a seeded or a system defined method. Check method. Okay, so the second one. So you see here, when I edited it, there is a name, there is a code. Okay, then from date. Okay, from when this particular payment method is active. Okay, and then you have certain usage rules. Okay, now this usage rules basically define the access. Okay, the access that this particular payment method has, or it controls the access with respect to this payment method. Okay, now you will see here under the usage rules, you have payable, you have receivable, and then you have cash management. Okay, so if you want this payment method to be applicable for payable application, okay, in order to carry out, or in order to tag it against the invoices and for the payments as well, then you will have to enable this for payments. Okay, enable for use in payables. And then if you want to restrict it to any business unit or legal entity or payment process transaction types, then in that case you will have to specifically select them. Okay, similarly, if you want to use it for a customer refund activity in receivables, so whenever in receivables a customer refund is created, that gets actually created as an invoice in payable. Okay, first that transaction is created in receivables, and then automatically there is an integration between receivable module and the payable module, and in payable module the invoice is getting created for that customer, which in turn you will make a payment against. Okay, so that we will understand at that point of time when we cover that transaction in receivable. But then since that method, okay, since a method is required for such a kind of payment also, that is why this place is available in the payment method configuration. Okay, that is enabled for use in receivables. And then if you want to use it for cash management, then again that payment method has to be enabled for cash management as well. Okay, now this checkbox that you see straight away under the usage rules, but before the tabs, automatically assign payment method to all payees. So whenever you create a payment method, there is an option for you to automatically assign, okay, automatically use this method on all supplier records. Use as in, add it under that list automatically. So if you enable this checkbox, then for all supplier records, this payment method gets added in the list. Okay, if you do not enable this, then what will happen is this will not get added, and you will have to manually go there in that particular supplier site level, or profile or address level payment tab, and add it manually. Okay, if you want in future to use that particular method for any invoice related to that supplier. Okay, so that becomes a tedious task. So let's say, for example, if there are hundreds of suppliers for whom that method is applicable, that payment method is applicable, then it becomes quite a cumbersome task, okay, to go into each of the supplier and add them one by one manually. And that is the reason Oracle has given you with this particular feature, whereby enabling that automatically assign all that particular payment method that you are creating becomes applicable for all the suppliers in the supplier master. Okay, so this is one thing that you need to understand. Remaining things, as and when we cover it, we will come back to this section and understand it. Okay, now let me show you one case. Okay, let's say if the supplier is located in India, then probably they will want certain payments to be done, or quick payments to be done. Okay, then NEFT or RTGS, okay, or IMPS is kind of a payment method. Okay, then in that case, that particular payment method has to be created. Okay, so let me say IMPS is one of the payment method that I want to create. So I will say IMPS, and again description you will provide us the entire description for IMPS. Okay, then the from date. Okay, so from date generally needs to be an older date from when basically this method, okay, or this configuration becomes applicable. Okay, so let me enter a older date. Okay, and then under the usage rules, automatically this will be enabled. That means so that you don't miss on this aspect. If you miss, then manually you will have to keep on adding to all suppliers. Okay, then under payables, you see automatically this is enabled for use in payable. But then if you want to restrict it, as I mentioned, you can restrict it for specific BUs and legal entities by clicking on specific and adding that BUs and legal entities. Then it will be only applicable for those BUs or legal entities that you have restricted. Okay, right now I'm keeping it as all. Similarly, the others. For receivable also, this will be enabled. For cash management also, this will be enabled. But if you want to restrict it so that this only needs to be utilized in payable process only, then you will, for the remaining two, you will have to uncheck this. Okay. Right now, let us keep it same for all. Okay. And then I will say save and close. So now this check method has been created, and automatically, if you go and look for your supplier record under that, maybe at the site or profile level, if you go under the payment tab and see search for IMPS, you will be able to find IMPS. Okay, because it is automatically assigned to all supplier records. This is how the payment method creation is done. Okay, then the next thing is defining the payment formats. Okay, so for each type of payment, okay, there is a format associated to it. So when you send an instruction to the bank, okay, so bank actually requires uh, the payment information, okay, in a specific format. Okay, so generally, all kinds of international payments like ACH and which is usually in US, that is followed. Similarly, SEPA payments in European region. Okay, cross-border currency payments in European region. Okay, similarly, we have in our case RTGS. Okay, so all of these has a specific format associated to it. Okay, so if you go to a bank and you say that we want to do the RTGS transfer, then they actually give you a form, okay, which is nothing but the format. Okay, so similarly, even in case of digital transfers, okay, when from Oracle, since Oracle is the ERP, okay, and then whenever payment instructions are to be sent to bank, okay, it is directly from the ERP itself, it can be sent to the bank server. Okay, so in such a case, a specific format is what is required by the bank. You need to send the payment instructions in a specific format, just like we have in case of check, right? Check template is what? It is a format. Okay, the same way for any kind of wire transfers or for any kind of electronic transfers also, there are specific bank formats that are followed by each of the banks. Okay, and then that format, okay, at the time of implementation, okay, that format has to be received from the bank. Okay, and that format has to be configured, okay, or that layout has to be configured in the BI publisher tool, and that activity generally is done by the technical people who are well versed with the SQL and PL SQL and all, and who know the BI publisher tools. Okay, so in that the template is created, okay, and stored in a place in Oracle directories, cloud directory. Okay, now after that comes our part where we need to do a setup, okay, such in order to link that particular layout. Okay, and that is called manage payment format. Okay, that is the task for defining the payment format. Okay, okay, so let us search for this task called manage payment format. It is not manage payment format, rather it is manage format. So manage format for payments. Okay, this is what you need to select, and then click on this, and in here you will have to add the layout that has been designed, okay, by the technical team in BI publisher tool. Okay, in here you are basically linking that particular format, or linking that particular layout. Okay, this task is done by us as functional consultants. This task is done by us. So how to create it? So here what you will have to do is you will have to select, okay, the type of the document, and what is that? It is called disbursement payment file formats. This is what you need to select the type as. Okay, and then click on create. Okay, and in here you will give the name of the format. Okay, so let me say Barclays wire transfer format. Okay, and then the same code I will have to give. Okay, B R C W wire. Okay, so this is the code that I'm providing, and then the date from which it needs to be applicable. So an older date, and this is where you actually link the template. Okay, the template or the layout, basically that is designed based on the format that bank has provided you. Based on that format, you design the template. Okay, so search for the template. So once they have placed, once the technical people have placed that particular layout file in the Oracle directory, there is a designated place, okay, where they will place that, and then it will appear to us here under this list. Okay, and then we will have to search it out. So with whatever particular name, they will place it, that we will have to search it. Okay, right now it will not be available with the name as Barclays, because we are just taking a hypothetical scenario. Okay, so that is where I will attach the template called standard check. So this layout is actually standard check layout is defined by Oracle, which is a kind of a check template. But just for your understanding, you can add it. Okay, let me try to see if there is a wire format available or not. Okay, so these are all localization based: Portuguese wire, Italian wire, and German wire. These are the respective countries' wire transfer formats based on the generic one. Okay, so right now I will just select standard as the format, standard check. Standard check stub after payment. Okay, let us just select this. But in the real life business, it will be the respective bank account. The template also will bear the respective bank bank name. Okay, and the mode of payment format. Okay, it will bear that name, and then accordingly you will have to attach it. Okay, and then you save and close. Only this much is to be done. Okay, rest of the things are like kind of advanced validations that you can place on the format. So this is how you create the format. Okay, now our next item. Okay, what is the next item? Basically, creation of the payment process profile. Okay, or let's say or we can go ahead with this create bank. Okay, let's go with creation of the bank branches, and bank account. These three, let us have a look at. Okay, create bank, create branches, and then create bank accounts. Okay, so for that, what is the navigation? Just a second. Okay, so what is the task name? It is called manage bank. Okay, so this one, manage bank, which is part of cash management, but then it is a required setup, or it is kind of a shared setup. Okay, between payables, receivables, and cash management. Okay, and that is the reason we have to define it. So manage bank accounts. Okay, so manage banks, basically click on that, and you will have to create first of all the bank name. Okay, and provide the bank code and associate the country in which the bank is located. Okay, so simply you will click on add, provide the name. Okay, so let's say United States, and then give the name of the bank. Okay, so let me say Barclays Bank US. Okay, then the bank code you can provide. Okay, and provide the taxpayer and the tax registration number IDs. And additionally, you can provide the address and the contacts. So this is the bank that we are creating. Okay, so this is part of the master data. Okay, once the bank has been created, you will create the branches that are applicable or with whom we have our, what do you say, our bank accounts, internal bank accounts as it is called. Okay, where all our internal bank accounts are. For that, we need to create the branches. Similarly, even we will have to create branches that will accommodate the supplier banks also. So we have seen, right, in the supplier setup, we have seen how to create a bank account that is called an external bank account for the supplier records. And in that, we saw, right, we need the bank and the bank branch. So that is where, before the banks can be created in the supplier, okay, this you need to make sure that the bank and bank branches master data is available in this particular setup. So bank is now created. Okay, then let us create the branches. So select that particular bank that we have created. Click on view branches. Right now, there will be no branches under that bank because this is a new bank we have created. Then click on add. Okay, select the bank. So Barclays Bank US, right? This is what we had selected. And then give the name of the branch. New York branch. Okay, and then routing number. So there are certain routing numbers which are unique numbers for each of the branches, based on which, the banks identify how that, or to which bank branch the transfer of funds need to be done. Okay, so that is what the routing number is. Then similarly, there is a big code which is called a branch number as well. Okay, that is to be also sometimes required. So it all depends. Population of all these fields, okay, depend based on the uh, formats that are required by the bank. So many of the banks in the format, they would want, okay, certain information to be mandatorily available, like the branch code, okay, the branch number or the routing number, or for that matter, some other specific numbers would be required. So in for that to be done, these bank masters need to be populated correctly. Okay, only then, system will be able to pick up those information during the payment process, while and then be able to format the payments. Okay, so input the routing number because that is mandatory. We will input it. Rest all, since we are not having an actual bank format, so it's fine if you don't populate it as at this practice time. But in real life implementation, all these things will be required. Okay, and then I will save. So this branch has been created. There is a validation, some validation is there. Let me see if this works. Let me see other bank account and I will try to find it. It is based on the country that it is fetching up that aspect. Let me see if there is a routing code. Click on then view branches. This is UK. Okay. So somewhat like this, let me copy it. There is a number specification, probably that is why it is that validation issue is coming up. Okay, let me go to view branches. I will add now. Enter the bank name. Enter the branch name. Give the routing number, maybe 38. Then let's try to save it. Give me a minute. Let me check this. One moment. I'm actually looking into the Oracle support to see what exactly the issue could be. Okay, fine. So in this scenario, if at all, you are entering a specific case, then from Google, try to find out, some number. So as I tried out, doing it for Barclays Bank US, I just entered what would be the routing number. So it displayed a certain number. Okay. And that is what, I have input now at the routing number field. Let's see, it is not based on the actual number that the validation is being done. There is some country wise code and branch wise some numbering is there required. Okay, specific code is actually getting validated by system. Okay, so that would be an inbuilt setups that are there in Oracle. Okay, so that based on that, it is checking up, and then I entered that number by simply searching out in Google, and then enter it because it is a mandatory field, showing as a mandatory field. Okay, and then save it. Okay, click on save and close. So the branch, basically the branch record is also created. Now comes the next part. So this is required. My bank and bank branches are required for the supplier external bank accounts as well, and as well as for the internal bank accounts. And now we will see creation of the internal bank accounts, that is our business's bank accounts. Okay, as the next step. So that is where under this branch we will create the bank account. So click on create bank account. And then you give the name of the account. Okay, so what is the name of the account that you want to provide? So generally it will be some name that will be identifiable or understandable for the payable people, or who are working on the payments and all. They need to identify which bank account this is, so that they can make or disburse the funds from those bank accounts correctly to the suppliers. Okay, similarly in case of receivables, when they are recording the customer receipts, okay, then appropriately the bank account can be selected, and hence the name should be entered in such a manner which will be easy for the users or the accountants to identify the bank account. Okay, so generally how it will be done is you will provide some name, like in this case I will say ABC Corp, and then not the whole number I will input, rather I will put asterisk, and then I will probably put the last 4 digits. Okay, 2564, let's say. So just by looking at the last 4 digits and the starting prefix, accountants, they would understand, because they are working day in and day out on these aspects. So they will be able to identify. And then here you need to provide the actual bank account number. Okay, the actual bank account number. Why? Because this is something that will be used during the time of payment formatting to be populated in the payment format and sent to bank. Therefore, this should be the correct bank account number. Okay, so let me just put some numbering. This is dummy number. Okay, just for your information, or for our practice we are doing it. Now this belongs to US dollar. Okay, all their funding or the balances, bank balances maintained in US dollar. Okay, then legal entity. So now bank accounts are controlled based on the legal entity. So generally in real life business also it is the same way, right? It is for each company, okay, or which has basically an individual identity. Okay, it is for that basically the bank accounts are opened. Now from a business perspective, it is for each of the company that the bank account gets opened. Okay, and that is why you will enter the legal entity or associate the legal entity to this internal bank account. So in our case, we will associate it to ABC Corp Financial Services Legal Entity.
So banks and bank branches are in BU level, or
no? It is kind of a common record.
Environment level, is it?
Yeah, it at the environment level, yes. But then the bank account that you create, this is called internal bank account. So our bank account or our business's bank account, those are internal bank accounts, and the supplier bank accounts are the external bank accounts. So the bank account that we create from here is the internal bank account. Okay, and legal entity is enabled. And then account type, if you want to tag, you can tag it, whether it is a savings account or checking account or other account. Okay, so like that you can have the value associated with it, or current account. In our case in India, we call something called current account. Right, so those values can be created under the list. This is a lookup which you can search, and then under that lookup you can add the values, and then you will be able to tag it to the bank account that you are creating. Okay, then description you can provide. Then IBAN, as I mentioned, it is what? It is kind of an international bank account number for unique identification international. Okay, then check digits you can enter. Then this is main. this particular internal bank account in which, where do you want to use it? Do you want to use it for payable activity, receivable activity, or for payroll activity? So in HCM, there is a payroll module. So if this account is something that you want to use for payroll processes, then you will have to enable that. Right now, we will be looking at doing it for payables and receivables. Okay, because we might want to use it for both payable as well as the receivable process. Some of the businesses, they have a process where for payable they keep a separate bank account, for receivable they keep a separate bank account because they want to keep the records segregated. Okay, so for their easy management, data management perspective, they actually have different accounts. Okay, so anyways, whatever the business scenario is, according to that you can enable. Now we come to the general section. So in the general section, first thing is the GL accounts. So what is the account combination that you want to associate with this particular bank account, internal bank account? So again, there are two different approaches which businesses have. Okay, either they have a common, natural account for, all the banks together, or else they have a separate natural account for each of the bank accounts that they are operating. Okay, in their chart of accounts I'm talking about. Okay, for each of the bank accounts, some of the companies, some of the clients, they actually maintain separate natural account values for each of the bank accounts. But some of the clients, they wish to go with a one particular account, such that all the fund balances, all the bank balances are shown under one account itself, one natural account itself. Okay, so depending upon whatever the scenario is, according to that, you will associate the cash account combination with this internal bank account, such that during the process of payment, the payment windows or the payment module can basically do the accounting based on the accounts that you have provided. So this is the place, just like in case of invoice, the supplier liability is being picked from invoice option or the supplier side level, right? The same way in case of payments, the cash and the cash clearing account will be picked up from the bank account level. Okay, in the bank account, what you have provided, from there it will pick up. So under the general tab, you need to provide both these accounts. Okay, cash account and clearing account. So let us provide that. Company, to which company is this to be associated to? Cost center, default, line of business. You want, you can provide it, or else you keep it as default. Then account. Okay, here we will say cash. Let's take it for time being, okay, as cash international. In this case, it will be, in a real life scenario, it will be either the specific value that is created for the bank, or a normal bank, bank balance account, or a bank cash bank account. Okay, and then select the intercompany as default and future as default. So this is the cash account. And cash clearing has also to be provided. In what circumstances? When in the payment option, you have selected the method as account, payment and issue, accounting to be done at payment and clearing. Okay, issue and clearing. Then in that case, you will have to provide the clearing account here. Only then the accounting will get completed. Otherwise, it will error out. So selecting the values. So in the natural account list, there will be an account for cash clearing as well, a different account. Click on OK. All right. So then additional information, if you want to provide any additional information, under that, there is this active icon. So by default, this will be active. Okay, when you create. But then if there is certain bank account that you want to disable on a later date, okay, since you no longer have that account, okay, or you have liquidated that account, then in that case you will deactivate it. So this is from where you deactivate or activate a particular bank account. Okay, then multi-currency account. So if for this particular bank account you want to make multi-currency payments or multi-currency receipts, okay, so even though the currency associated to this account is US dollar, but if you want to be able to do the payments in euro using this particular bank account, similarly you want to make any receipts, okay, of euro or any other currency other than US dollars in this particular account, then you will have to enable multi-currency. Okay, payment documents will come. Let us okay, we will come back to that later. Once we have done with the bank account creation, we'll come back to payment document later. Okay, then controls. So this controls we will understand when we do the cash management module. Okay, this is again a shared setup, shared between multiple modules. Okay, so there are certain cash management activities for which the controls are to be defined at that point of time. We will come back to this particular setup. Now security, if this bank account access is to be secured, okay, secured by user and role, then you will have to enable this. And once you enable it, you will have to provide the user roles and user names who can access these bank accounts. Okay, if you don't provide it, then the access for all will be restricted if this is enabled. Okay, right now I'm just keeping this as disabled so that we can have access across. Then business unit access. Now this is where each first level of security is the legal entity, but then the second level is each business unit wise. So if you want to use it in the payable process or receivable process, it is by business unit that we do the payment or the receiving activity. Okay, so in such a scenario, you will have to associate those business units under which you want to use this particular bank account during the transaction. Okay, so let us add the business unit access. Okay, it is ABC Corp Insurance. Insurance BU. Okay, and then cash and bank cash clearing account will be picked up on this, okay, from the general setup or from the general tab where we have given that. From there it will pick up. Okay, now foreign exchange gain and loss is something that you will have to provide additionally so that in case of any exchange rate differences, the gain loss can be recorded properly. And there is an account available to record the gain loss. If it is not there and this gain loss situation arises, then the accounting will fail in the absence of the value under this, or in the absence of account combination under this section. Okay, so let us select the gain loss accounts as well. So I'll click on search and I'll say exchange. Okay, let us say realized gain loss on exchange gain and exchange currency. Okay, so we can take this. Okay, generally there will be a separate account that has to be created for in the natural account list for this scenario as well. Okay, for time being, we can take whatever expense account we can get our hands on. The same account we will take for loss as well. Okay, now payment document categories by payment method. So for, let's say this is required. When is it required? When you enable the document sequence. Okay, so if the document sequence or the voucher numbering facility is to be utilized, okay, for the payment documents or the payments that are created, then in that case, this will be required. Okay, so the first step would be to define the document sequences. And the second step, for each of the payment method, you might want to associate a document category. Okay, so earlier in case of invoice, we did not have to do this activity. It was automatically what Oracle has associated or linked. It used to come up. But for payments, we will have to do this. Okay, linkage. Establish a link between the payment method and the document category. Okay, so here we have, click on add the payment method. What is the payment method that you would be using, okay, for this particular bank account? So let's say IMPS is there. We will use that. Let's say, and the document category that I will associate is wire. Okay, wire as in, wire transfer. So that wire will be available. Wire payments will be available as a method here, or a category, document category here. Okay, so let's select that. Similarly, let me say if I am going to use check method, then I'll have to select the method as check. Okay, and I will say check payments as the document category. And let's say if I want to use EFT, then, and the payment document category that I will associate is electronic payments. Okay, so all the payment methods that I want to utilize, okay, or based on which I will want to, create the payment from this particular bank account, all those payment methods I will have to associate here under the BU access. And then click on OK. So now the access is created, and then you can save. So the bank account is now created. Okay. In the bank account, there is something called a payment document. So whenever a payment is created, a certain numbering is to be followed. Okay, let's say, for example, this will be more valid from a check payment perspective. So okay, in real life, whenever there is a check payment, okay, there is actually a standard leaflet, okay, or a certain numbered leaflet that is available to you from bank, that bank has provided you. So that is where you need to maintain that numbering and all. Okay, on the payment that is created from Oracle, that check numbering and everything needs to be maintained according to what you have on your hand. Okay, so that is where payment documents as a setup comes up at the bank account level. Okay, so let us add it. Click on add when you want to create a payment document. The payment document that you are creating, okay, will be the naming you will have to provide. Okay, check, let's say it is for the check that you are creating the payment document. And then paper stock type. Okay, what is the paper stock? Is it a pre-numbered stock or is it a blank stock? So generally checks are pre-numbered, right? So the checkbooks that you get, they are pre-numbered checkbooks. So that is where whenever you want to create a payment document for check, you will have to select the type, paper stock type as numbered stock. Okay, you will have to then associate the payment format. Okay, so this is where you actually associate the format which you have created earlier. So with respect to check, if there is a check format that you have created, then you will have to assign that. Okay, with respect to IMPS or with respect to wire transfers, if there is a format that will be available, then you will have to associate that. Okay, so this is a check. For check, we will first of all select the payment format. Let's say this is the payment format that we want to associate. Okay, and then the payment document category type also you will have to associate here, which is check payment. Two places you will have to associate the document category. Okay, and then the document numbers. So since this is a check and it is a pre-numbered stock, so based on the number of checkbooks that you have, okay, you need to input the first document number and the last document number. And system will then follow the series. Okay, as in when you create new payments, it will follow the series using this particular payment method. Okay, when you create a payment from Oracle, it will use the series in the sequence of the numbers that you have entered. Okay, so let's say, for example, at present we have our client has checkbooks from 1 till 1000. Okay, with these many leaves. Okay, with these many numbers from one document from check number 1 till check number 1000 is the document that are available with the client. And if there are multiple checkbooks which constitute this entire check number, then that you will have to input. So here I will say checkbook CHK BK 1 to 100. For 100 leaves, there will be one checkbook. Okay, and then I will provide 1 to 100. For second checkbook, okay, CHK. Let me just divide it into two. Okay, 501 till 1000, and start number I will say 501 till 1000. Okay, and the second line, the first line I will change it, make it till 500. So based on whatever the cases in your physical, based on the physical book that you have at hand, according to that, you will have to enter the information, because this will be something that will be taken up during the audit process to, audit the checkbooks and, to see if, if the numberings have been properly maintained, what is the checkbook that was issued from the system, and, what is the records that you have, the physical records that you have, everything will be audited, okay, based on these things as well. Okay, so you have to input that. Okay, then numbering but will be taken up based on this. Okay, when you create a payment document using this particular check method and payment document, then in that case, this is the number of this is the sequence that will be followed from 1 up till 1000. Later on, if there is a checkbook which starts from 1001 till 2000, then you will have to create another payment document altogether. Okay, so that many number of payment documents will keep on getting created during the life of the business. So that is one document. So for check, you can create the document. Now for wire also, if you want to create a document such that a sequence is followed, okay, on the payment document, then in that case for wire also you can create wire. Okay, the format will be the wire transfer format. Okay, let's say Barclays wire transfer format. The payment document category that you will have to associate will be the one that you have associated with the wire payments. Okay, wire payment. Okay, and then the first available document. So in this case, wire document is not something like a pre-numbered stock. Okay, so that is where you will select the type as blank stock, and you just need to provide the first available number, so in the series, so that that particular series can be followed. So let me say this is the series that I want to start the numbering with for wire transfers. Okay, then this is what it will be followed, and there is no ending document, so it will keep on following in as infinity. That is the difference between a numbered stock and a blank stock. Okay, so that way we have created the payment documents, and then you will finally save and close. Okay, that's it for today, guys. We will continue with the payment setup. The remaining one more setup is required before we can start with the actual payment process. Okay, so that we will take up tomorrow. Do you have any questions now?
No, Chandu. We need a help on that creating the user.
Yeah, I'll do it. Just let me do it right away in front of you so that